From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. I'm pre-recording this morning's episode. I'm at S4 in beautiful Tampa, Florida. The show starts really early, starts around 8 a.m. So I'm pre-recording this just a little bit before I head out to the show this morning. So for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, I'm recording it a bit early. There is a Starbucks downstairs, but drinking Starbucks is just awkward for me. I don't like Starbucks coffee. Like it's bad. So either way, coffee cup cheers for all y'all that are having a cup of coffee this morning, watching the show. Make sure to subscribe, follow, share, like, and comment. We've got a packed show. Let's get right into it with Apple on Monday releasing an urgent patch that's 18.3.1 for iOS and iPadOS. Now, here's the thing about this critical security flaw that's being exploited in the wild. It requires physical access to the iPhone. So in the bare bones advisory that Apple released, they've confirmed that there's a defect that leads to an extremely sophisticated attack against specific targeted individuals. The company didn't share what it was that is in kind of like what the IOCs are for the attack, but apparently someone could just plug in a iPad Lightning or USB-C port when the device has been locked for over an hour, and they can get into USB restricted mode, which is a security feature designed to block data access and hack the device that way. By disabling the data connection after 60 minutes of inactivity, iOS prevents devices like forensic phone unlockers from downloading data through the port, effectively turning the Lightning connector into a charge-only interface until the owner unlocks the phone or explicitly allows a USB accessory. Apple described the flaw as an authorization issue, and a patch has been announced. So, again, the reason I start off with this is because as I was kind of looking through the websites this morning, getting ready for the show, everyone had this like a top story, but it's a low complexity attack. So is it just because it's Apple and it's clickbait? Oh, Apple's got a 0-day and it's clickbait, so let's put it out there so people look at it. It's a low complexity attack. Don't let it sweat you. Update your phone when you can. That's it. It's a low complexity attack. Someone's going to have physical access on your phone. If the person does that, then you have bigger problems than someone plugging a USB port into your device. And I urge you to seek legal help at that point. All right. To actual stuff that matters. Newspaper conglomerate Lee Enterprises. Apparently, they print newspapers. You remember those things that you used to get, like the Paperboy route? Yeah, there's still a thing. There's still physical papers. I discover that every time I travel and I get to a hotel and I see somewhere they have like actual printed newspapers. That smell of newspaper is something very nostalgic. Well, Lee Enterprises are one of the largest owners of local papers in the U.S. They told Recorded Future News that they're working through a technology issue that caused some disruption to the company's day-to-day work. Their technology response team has been working with third-party specialists to restore the systems and investigate the nature of those disruptions. Our investigation has determined that the situation was the result of a cybersecurity event. They're not saying whether it's ransomware or something along the lines, but this does meet the hallmarks of a ransomware attack. They're now trying to focus on what information, if any, may have been deemed affected by the situation. Now, technically, your printing press shouldn't be connected to the internet, meaning specifically, you should have a segmented device. You should have your printing presses should be segmented on a local network only, that you essentially upload the issue of what's supposed to be printed into the design and your press is printed. So if you're having those types of disruptions, it means you've actually interconnected your IT and OT, which, hey man, not a very good idea. Lee Enterprises controls almost 350 digital platforms and print publications in 72 markets in 25 states, including the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the Arizona Daily Star, and several other well-known local news outlets. The company reports a revenue of $145 million in the last quarter alone. Officials are saying that recovery measures are being implemented. The impact on the financial condition is still being assessed as part of their SEC filing. So they've got to report it within 4 days, but they don't know whether or not there'll be material breach or they don't know if there'll be material impact or not. That remains to be seen. And obviously, it's really, really early in the investigation. So a lot of news around OpenAI. One, the alleged kind of Elon Musk trying to buy it and so much more. But then there's what we see on the dark web, where a threat actor recently offered to sell 20 million OpenAI credentials, but the data likely comes from information stealing malware and not from the AI firm's systems. A attacker by the name of Emerking recently claimed on breach forum cybercrime that he had obtained credentials associated with 20 million OpenAI accounts, suggesting the data was up for sale. Threat intelligence firm Kala conducted an analysis of the sample data made available by the attacker and determined the OpenAI credentials were likely obtained through info stealing malware and not actually hacking OpenAI's directory. So that's, I guess, a good thing. But then they had the threat actor had info stealer somewhere, meaning they were running a very successful campaign to get 20 million people to compromise 20 million different OpenAI accounts. So we'll see whether or not that number actually holds up. A lot of times those numbers are exaggerated, so there could be like 500,000 or 1 million, but then they use a whole bunch of others. The credentials will be part of a larger data set scraped from a mix of private and public sources that sell and share info stealer logs, according to the cybersecurity firm. Breach forums is often used by attackers who claim to have obtained valuable data from major companies. However, a lot of times they turn out to be false and exaggerated. Fact-checked, true. That does tend to be a thing with these threat actors. So there's that. In good news prevail type of things, and we've got a few of those today. The 8-base ransomware site has been taken down as Thai authorities arrested 4 people connected to the operation in Thailand. The takedown notice was posted hours after news outlets in Thailand reported the arrest of 4 people allegedly involved in the ransomware operation. A spokesperson for Europol told Recorded Future News that they are supporting an international operation against a ransomware group, but declined to offer more information. The logos for the FBI, the UK National Crime Agency, the federal police agencies from Germany, the Czech Republic, Switzerland were all on the takedown banner, as well as Europol's emblem. Both FBI and others did not respond for comments about what happened during this operation. However, 8 bases are a relatively new operation. It's ramped up in activities in the summer of 2023. And they've got a few high-profile attacks like the UN Development Program and the Atlantic States Marine Fishery Commission, as well as some Canadian agencies for dental benefit plans for disabled people in Alberta. Researchers from VMware said while the group was new, its speed and efficiency don't indicate of a new group, rather kind of a decentralized group that was part of something else. All of those were broken apart. They found each other, came together, created 8 base. The 4 folks arrested were arrested in Phuket in Thailand, a tropical tourist destination. If you've never been there, beautiful, beautiful spot. The suspects are 2 men and 2 women, were not named, and the Thai Cybercrime Investigation Bureau said Swiss and U.S. authorities have issued warrants for their arrest. The 4 are accused of attacking 17 Swiss companies and using crypto mixing services to launder funds received through ransom payments. So we don't know their nationalities yet or anything like that, but the moment that becomes available, we'll share it here. Threat actors are also observed leveraging the Google Tag Manager to deliver credit card skimmer malware through targeting Magenta-based e-commerce websites. Website security company Sakori said the code, while appealing to be a typical go-to-market and Google Analytics script used for website analytics and advertising purposes, contains an obfuscated backdoor capable of providing attackers with persistent access. When this article was written by our friends over at the Hacker News, the 3 sites have been found to be infected with the GTM identifier in question, down from 6 reported by Sakori to 3. So it's work there. But again, credit card skimming on e-commerce. If you're a security practitioner in the e-commerce world, or you have your own e-commerce site for any of your hobbies, you want to make sure you're constantly looking at the integrity of your payment system. You constantly want to check it, by the way, right? Like, one thing I recommend for people to always do when you're in e-commerce, and when I was a CISO for an e-commerce and we had an actual website, like, we would send one of our security engineers or analysts to go to, like, the grossest grocery store, buy $100 gift card, like a Visa prepaid card, whatever it is, go onto the website and use it, and just buy something for $1 or $2, whatever it is, $10, whatever our cheapest product is, buy it using that card. And then we would track that card to see if it was attempted to get used anywhere else. And that's how we kind of understood that. Now, there's obviously a lot of different companies today that monitor that for you, but we kind of didn't want to rely just on third parties. We wanted to put in our own Q&A every so often in order to really kind of identify whether or not even the vendors were being truthful about the information we were paying them to get. And so we did that. Fortunately for us, we never had an issue with it, but it's just one way to go about doing something like that in order to really kind of like spike your own data with your own with your own kind of like your own little signal, and then monitor that over time. Over 12,000 GFI Grail control firewall instances are exposed now to a critical remote execution vulnerability. That's CVE 2024-52875. Grail controls a network security suite that small and mid-sized businesses use for VPNs, bandwidth management, reporting and monitoring, traffic filtering, as well as some antivirus and intrusion preventions. The flaw in question was discovered in mid-December by security researcher Egidio Romano, EGIX, who demonstrated the potential for a dangerous one-click remote code execution. GFI released a security update for the problem with version 9.4.5 patch 1 on December 19th. Yet, according to Census, over 23,800 instances still remain vulnerable to this one click. And now with it being out there, there's a whole bunch of this. And you obviously see Russia, Kazakhstan, the US, Iran, India, Brazil all have exposed devices there. So the public POC and the requirements for exploitation are low, allowing even unskilled attackers to join the malicious activity. Now, mind you, because this is primarily used by small and mid-sized businesses, they likely don't know. So if you're an MSP or if you're in the MSP world, you definitely want to make sure you get this addressed ASAP. The British military is dropping basic training to fast-track recruitment of cyber warriors. So instead of a kind of like a 10-week full-fledged basic training, the recruits for cyber, and that's really up to 50, so it's not like in the hundreds, won't have to go through the traditional fitness and weapons training to become cyber military recruits, but rather they're going to go through like a 4-week basic just fitness training, maybe some basic weapons training, and then they're going to go into a 3-month program to become essentially cyber warriors at the Defense Academy in Shrivenham, Oxfordshire. So by the end of 2025, the new recruits will be embedded in operational roles, either securing network defenses and services at the digital headquarters or conducting cyber operations to counter those who would do the UK harm as part of the national cyber force. So again, dropping kind of the requirements. That's, by the way, one of the arguments in the US for a cyber force is anyone who joins any branch of the military has to go through regular basic training, unless you're coming in kind of as a skilled, like you're after college, you still have to go through basic, but there's the requirements are a little bit less. Interesting to see this take place. It's just showing you the dire need of the military to recruit more and more cyber folks, and the fact that they can't get enough, and the people that they want to get don't want to go through 10 weeks of getting screamed at. So there's an adjustment there, kind of the thinking outside the box. We'll see how this serves the Brits. It's a cool experiment. I'd love to see the numbers and kind of like the mental toughness of folks going into cyber. Cyber's not an easy business. There's a lot of beatdown for it. Burnout is real. And so I wonder if by reducing the standards, you may end up not getting maybe the same level of performance or the same. That's my concern specifically. If someone's ability to be able to stick through the hard times when you kind of cut it through, because cyber is that sometimes that intense. So we'll see. I hope to be proven wrong, and I hope this experiment works, because I think if it works, then we could see that get duplicated in a whole bunch of other countries. And that's a good thing. And more people getting involved in the military, understanding the ethics that go through with serving your country and serving your community and serving others is a very, very good thing. It's a really good thing. Microsoft on Friday announced an expansion of its Copilot bug bounty program to include more consumer products and provide researchers with higher incentives. Now, Bug Bounty can earn up to $30,000 for critical severity vulnerability in multiple Copilot AI products and services. The payout for medium flaws have also increased up to $5,000. So you want to make sure you know that you share that with folks who are into bug bounty programs. Again, you can make some good money going after some Microsoft products. And finally, Indiana man was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for hacking into the investment holdings company server and stealing more than $37 million worth of crypto. Evan Frederick Light, 22, used the stolen identity of a client of an investment holdings company in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to access servers and exfiltrate the PII of hundreds of other clients. Then he used that stolen information to steal crypto from 571 clients who held their assets with the investment holding company, which has not been named. The intrusion occurred in February of 2022, and Light was arrested approximately a year later. He was indicted in June of 2023 and pled guilty back in September of 2024. In light of his plea deal, Light admitted to working with co-conspirators to orchestrate the intrusion and to use various services to launder the money before storing them in a cold wallet. Court testimony showed that Light and his co-conspirators used a false report of a kidnapping to have the investment holding company's employees evacuated so they can perpetrate the intrusion. In addition, the 20-year prison sentence, Light was ordered to pay a $200 special assessment. He will also be ordered to pay restitution, likely of at least $37 million at a future hearing. So not a good day for that young man, and he'll be 42 if he serves his full term. If he does get out early, he'll be in his mid-30s, and we hope he'll learn his lesson from that. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. Until then, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, like, comment. If you're at S4, come by, say hello, and most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.